we're still on the topic of conversation of 9 games in the SEC versus 8 games. Do you have any thoughts or opinion on the matter?
I have many. Excuse me. I think the SEC is steeped in tradition. Florida and Georgia are going to play. They're going to play in Jacksonville. As much as I would like to do a 2 in Jacksonville, Athens, Gainesville rotation, think that would be really cool. If you're at Florida or at Georgia for 4 years, you get an opportunity to play in the swamp. You get an opportunity to play between the hedges, and you still get to go to Dan's favorite city in the entire universe. So I think that'd be cool. But you have these traditions. Auburn and Alabama, the state will secede from the union if the SEC tries to say that they can't play the Iron Bowl. You also have to have Alabama play Tennessee. They've played that over 100 times. That game has to happen. Auburn and Georgia have to play. The 8-game model with adding 2 teams is going to be a 7-1 model, which means you get 1 permanent opponent. So are you taking Tennessee off Auburn or off Alabama's schedule? Are you taking Auburn off Alabama's schedule? Are you taking Tennessee off of Florida's schedule? Or are you taking Georgia off of it? There's no more LSU games. So you're going to have riots in SEC fan bases with 8 games. Now, the other option is to go to a 9 game, and then you have a 6 and 3 permanent opponents, and then 6 rotating. That keeps the traditions. That also adds an SEC game. I think the SEC and the presidents and the athletic directors are going to go to Disney, say, hey, Mickey, we're playing a tougher schedule. We'd like some more of those Donald Duck bucks to do that. And Disney is going to say, hey, man, we're paying you $3 billion for the next 10 years to schedule your games. A little greedy. So I think the SEC will posture and say, we'll do 8. And you're going to get fire and brimstone from fan bases, which are going to say, what do you mean we're not playing Tennessee anymore? We're not playing Alabama anymore. We're not playing Auburn anymore. So I think the 8-game schedule, once they came out last year in the spring and said, there's only 2 models, this model for the 8-game, a 7-1, and this model for a 9-game, a 6 and 3. To me, there was no other option. You can't get rid of these traditional rivalry games. So you're going to have to go to a 9-game schedule, and the SEC and the coaches and the athletic directors will say, we're going to stay at 8. We're going to stay at 8 until they see what the fan bases say. But they're going to try to get more money out of Disney, who's giving them $3 billion. Starting in 2024, the SEC will get $300 million a year from ESPN, from Disney. They were getting $55 million a year from CBS. So you don't have a huge leg to stand on going to ask for more money, but I get the standpoint. Like, hey, we're giving you an extra SEC game. So we didn't have this SEC game when we negotiated the contract. We need to renegotiate. But if I'm writing a $3 billion check, I don't really feel like renegotiating that for a higher number.
Good stuff there, Nick. I feel like with all of your similes and metaphors, you were prepared for that segment, and appreciate your thoughts. I know.
How dare you? That was Hove and Wayne in the booth. That was
one
off the
take,
top.
Jake.
One take, Jake.
That was one take. That was a freestyle.
I like it. Well, you did a fantastic job, Nick. That's why we pay you the big Donald Duck bucks here. I do think that Florida's position right now is more erring on the side of wanting 8 games over 9. Silk, you have any thoughts, or you're just going to kind of wait and see because we don't control it anyway?
Yeah, man, they better get these games right, or they're gonna have to go back to lockdowns. The real civil war gonna start. They take away these rivalry games. That's my take.
All right. Well, let's get on
to
if
they stay at 8. Who do you want as Florida's permanent opponent?
I'm not
Vanderbilt.
Unfortunately, I can't.
Well, no, maybe not right now.
Dan, watch out! Careful there, Dan.
Yeah, I really backed myself into a corner here.
There's no corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be
keep happening.
The other thing too,
I think it's going to be Georgia, right? I think if any permanent opponent exists, Florida, Georgia is the most storied of those rivals, right?
You have to look into the contract too, because I mean, I guess you can probably Florida and Georgia could get out of a contract with the city of Jacksonville if the SEC is not going to have that. If the SEC is going to have change that, but to me, I can't imagine a season where Florida and Tennessee aren't playing.
Right. We
Well,
got a lot of low key like rivalries, man. Like LSU is a rivalry.
You're gonna
Tennessee
lose the
rivalry.
LSU game, like
right.
From
You're gonna
talking
lose LSU.
to
And I mean,
talking
there's
to
a lot
people,
of,
even if they do the 9-game schedule, LSU's out. It'll be Georgia, Tennessee, and I think Oklahoma will be.
I think I'm gonna get out there this year for that
3
reason.
permanent.
I got to see Florida at LSU before they start dismantling things.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the first time, right? Florida used to have a very historic rivalry with Auburn that was lost. So I don't know. I don't necessarily love the 7-1, but I get it, right? Especially with Oklahoma and Texas, their regions agreed to it. They're absolutely coming in 2024. You have to add them in some, rhyme or fashion. What if you got rid of all of the rivalries? What if you had 8 games?
Just get rid of the whole game, Dan.
What?
Just get rid of the whole game at that point.
What do you mean get rid of all the rivalries?
But if you got rid of the one permanent rivalry every year, and then every school has multiple rivalries, right? It's going to be tough to balance if you stick at 8. Obviously, if you go to 9, it's a little bit of a different situation. I think if they go to 9, I'm very curious if Florida continues on with Florida State every year. I think that they would, but there's that chance too, right? Where now you're going to be potentially losing the opportunity to have that home game that you might not otherwise have, or whatever it might be to be able to bring in a USF in, or who are we bringing in this year? I don't remember, Central Michigan, whoever it might be, but Florida also has locked themselves in. And this is why I'm not surprised that Florida's position is probably 8. You've already locked in games against Notre Dame. You've locked in games against Colorado. You've locked in games against Arizona State in the future for 1-1. So I'm very curious if Florida does go to a 9-game schedule, has FSU on there, that's 10. You go away to Arizona State. Now you have one for the fan base. If Florida's good, that's great because you get great football. But from a business perspective, certainly things you have to start thinking about.
No doubt.
Gosh, you just can't. They can't stay at 8.
I'm just telling you what I think their position is. We'll see. I don't think it's Florida's decision to control 100% on their own, but you start to factor in those things and then how that might affect other rivalries, right? But what I mean by getting rid of rivalries is not getting rid of rivalries as a whole. That's what makes college football, but Florida has Tennessee, LSU, Georgia, previously Auburn as considered rivals, right? You're going to be in a situation where you rotate them every few years, right? You don't lose the rivalry. You just lose that it's every year, and it might be 2 out of 3 years, right? Or 3 out of 5. Does that make the rivalry even bigger? Who knows?
Yeah. Try to tell fans of Auburn, Alabama, and Tennessee, like, hey, sorry, no Iron Bowl this year, but we'll get you back in 2027.
I don't have to tell them. That's the best part. Yeah. I don't work for the SEC. The only SEC
guard,
right now I'm worried about. The only SEC, Nick, that I'm worried about right now is governing my retirement investment. All right, boys.